Good evening, everyone, and welcome to June 20th Board of Education meeting at the Ridge Road School. At this time, would you please stand and honor America by reciting the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss individual personnel matter and negotiations. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Honored America by saying the pledge before we went into executive session. So we'll start with our agenda. And the first item on the agenda is to approve minutes from two board meetings. One is our regular board meeting from May 23rd, and the second is our special board meeting that took place on June 4th. Can I have a motion? Curiosities, discussion, comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, next we have a section for community comments and questions. This period will last for 30 minutes unless the board votes to extend the comment section. Those who wish to comment during this time, we ask that you speak at the designated podium there. You state your name and address or role. You adhere to a 3-minute rule and follow Board of Education Policy 2370, which with your smartphone you can snap a picture of. We have a QR code when you've signed in. And then finally, please note that the public comment period is not designed to be a discussion, but rather an opportunity for the board to listen to your sentiments regarding this evening's agenda or maybe other topics you've come to speak about. So do we have anybody that would like to speak tonight?
Good evening. That's great. So my name is Amy Kerr with Amy Sunshine Center, and I know you guys have already voted on the busing. However, what I wanted to bring up is, since I last sent my letter, our attendance has grown in our school age program from 23 to over 40. We're out of almost 50 kids, and those kids are all going to need somewhere to go next year, and I'm concerned that they don't have a spot next year. So I'm asking that we try to figure something out, and I know you can't drop off at our site, but maybe we can meet you somewhere else. But I can't do transportation myself because of the changes that the OCFS made to the regulations. So I can't have big vans, and that's quite unfortunate. So I would love it if the board could actually consider again the possibility of helping me figure out the transportation problem that we're going to have. Okay? That's all I have. Thank you.
This is not meant to be, I just need to know some information. You have stated your attendance has grown. When the attendance was growing, was your daycare, notifying them that they would have to provide their own transportation. And it's still grouped. I don't know what you were talking about with the vans that you can't, can you contract for other services or not? That's other news.
So unfortunately, the price it would cost to get with somebody, I would be happy to look at pricing with the school district for transportation, but to have a private company do it, it would just be out of our means. We're barely making it as it is, and losing all that school age population might even put our whole daycare at risk. About 45.
And the reason I asked that was simply because if you're open to some type of private arrangement, there are other companies out there. The hard part for schools is that we have difficulty doing private runs because we may not have the drivers, and you'd have to contract for the full run. But if you want, you can give my office a call. I'll be happy to sit down with you. But unfortunately, because you're a for-profit daycare, that's really the hard part. If we do it for you, I have to do it for every other for-profit daycare in the area, and that could be problematic. So please give my office a call. I do appreciate you coming in. I know you've been determined, so I can't fault you for trying. But I'll leave that at that for my questions right now, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, this is your last time when the sun's going to shine on you. Well, no, I take that back. Last time as the student representative that the sun's going to shine on you. So,
Thank you. The senior class finished their time at HHS Strong with Senior Day, where they had breakfast pizza in the morning, and they did their car decorating contest. They had their car decorating contest and went to Thorn Creek for games and lunch. They also had a very good trip to Hershey Park. The whole senior class would like to thank Ms. Kelly Westridge, our advisor, for a good 4 years.
Let's take her that last one back. I'll be on there.
The Unified Raiders would like to have everyone keep an eye out on their social media for the delivery of their clothing fundraiser through Rainbow Lettering. Fourth graders from across the district participated in a Unity Day where the class of 2032 all gathered together for the first time. The Green Room players had their annual banquet where they announced next year's officers as well as next year's show, Into the Woods, which will show next March. They also took a trip to New York City where they took a tour of the Broadway musical ensemble Ron Rose the Musical. Congratulations to all the Division 1, 2, and 3 athletes who signed at the athletic signings. The Varsity H Club also hosted the athletic banquet where they recognized all the athletes and coaches' achievements. Graduation is set to be held June 26th at 6 p.m. where senior banners will be hung that were donated by Multimedia Printing. Finally, I would like to thank everyone on the board for their hospitality. This has been one of the most unique things I have done during my time at Horses. I would also like to thank not only the board, but everyone in the district for making my time at Horses special. Thank you.
Anthony, on behalf of the Board of Education, our board president has something written here.
can you hear me? Oh, all right. Thank you for your service, Mr. Miller, and we have put a plaque up for all the student representatives. So this will stay with this school, but I had a gift card here. So, let me so, thank you for your service. We appreciate it. And, oh,
And Anthony, if you'll join Miss Earl over here. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time of the year, we also introduce your next year's rep as well as the alternate, and I turn it over to Mrs. Earl.
So, me as Sophia could not be here tonight, but she will be our board representative for next year, and our alternate will be Nancy Dang. So Nancy was able to join us today.
Say a couple words, practice on public speaking, even though I know you already have.
I just want to say thank you all for the encouragement for thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that could come here today, and thank you to the Board of Ed for considering me for the alternate position. Thank you.
next we go to section 5, and we start with the report from the superintendent, Dr. Doe.
I will try to make this one as quick as I can, but it is the end of the year and there's a lot of things to cover. But honestly, the very first one I need to cover, where did he go? Mr. Cogley. He's giving an extension cord. I'll come back to him then. So we have several things that are going on in the district, but most importantly, I have to point out a very special graduate. His name is Joey Barris, I think the third. But Joey Barris' father is the most important person in the world right now to Horsehead Central Schools, and that's because he's the weatherman at WENY. And we need him to really do a great job with Mother Nature for next Wednesday, because right now, it looks good. It looks like an evening like tonight, a little warm and a little freshness on you. But we know things will change, so this is the time we ask everybody to please stay tuned. We make our decision up until noon on Wednesday. If we can confirm earlier, we do, just in case there's potential transitive weather coming in, like a major storm that would be all of a sudden hitting around graduation time. We know Elmira's is tonight, and we're hoping that that does not happen as well. So we just want the community to be aware. Please feel free to come out. We may shift from 6 to 6:30, depending on the weather too, but we will put all of that in our announcement. Ladies and gentlemen and members of the board, I hope you will join me in as I start something that honors education in Horsehead. We honor and always honor our valedictorian and salutatorian, but we have so many other kids as well. One of the things that we've done is have distinguished academic honors. We have the Mark Twain Scholars, but the competition is so fierce here. The valedictorian and salutatorian are the top 2 in class, that I am looking at bringing in the top 5 in class and ties with the names of valedictorian, salutatorian, a class laureate 3rd in class, superintendent's honors 4th in class, and principal's honors 5th in class, because that virtually wraps up our top 2%. And we wouldn't need to have a policy change in the future, but if the board is okay, I already know the names, and we do have a tie this year, so it's not top 5, it's actually top 6. But we would like to honor all the students in this work in conjunction with what we just did for congratulating all of our Mark Twain scholars. So I think that's good because our number one goal is education and education to the highest level, and this provides more students recognition for their hard work over all of them. That would be announced at our graduation this year. First time that the students do not know that yet. And we'll also have the same type of additional award for our valedictorian, salutatorian who are honored the other night at the Val Sale dinner in that, and it was a wonderful evening. In addition, is Mike back there? It's Mike, turn around. This gentleman is always working, but behind that gentleman is an entirely proficient, professional, efficient, expeditious workforce. His colleagues in his entire department, just like our teachers and our students have gone through this week and every week, every day throughout the year, throughout the summer, and even on days like today, where when they were up on roofs it was 115, 117 degrees, they will always meet you with a smile and follow through, just like moving all the fans in here tonight, so that we experience the same thing that goes on during our classes during the day. And I know several of our parents are very grateful for the building projects that have been on, because it's changed some of the environment, even though we still have to live through it. And I look forward to the board continuing that. But on behalf of Mike and his entire crew, they are the unsung heroes of getting everything done, whether it's in the winter or whether it's in the blazing Sahara Desert of the roofs at Dorset Central School. I'd like to give a great round of recognition for all their hard work and his leadership. Mike even got me up on a roof this morning. It was toasty, but not as toasty in the afternoon. In addition, we have all the end of the year events, regions, field days. I had the pleasure of being out, as well as my administrative team. Some people always think that, administrators just sit. We don't sit. Every day we are at every building and every event throughout the day, all through this, because you know what? It's important that we always lead by example of what we expect our students to do. We try to make sure we join right in it. I had the honor of being each of the elementary schools today, and I want to thank the leadership at the intermediate school for what happened. Unfortunately, Elmira College had an AC problem. That happens. But quick action brought the students back, and we were able to try to address as many people as possible because of such a long, lengthy day. So hats off to them, as well as the faculty and staff that made sure they took care of each other, our students, and had an enjoyable day. We are in half-day sessions for the rest of the school year, tomorrow and the next 3 days to Wednesday, leading to our graduation. So I look forward. Board members, if by chance you're going to not be able to come to the graduation, as soon as you know, please let Terry Clark know. We would appreciate that. And probably my biggest announcement as we end out this year, it was certainly a very difficult and challenging budget season. And all across the state, but I do want to really express, and I know the board did at the last meeting, but my gratitude for the board, the community, our staff, our students, our parents, our seniors, that regularly come out and say, this is what we need to do to keep horse heads, and to make sure we always move forward. You're going to see the education data in the coming year, and I've already been told at our elementaries, what people are saying is that we're falling behind is not factually accurate. And I'm sure Mr. Gill will agree, Mr. Kohler, and all the work of our principals, and most importantly, our instructional staff, as we bring to you our data, roughly about October. But that leads us to one of the hardest discussions. Back in 2021, the community voted. We have gone through and are starting the redistribution or redistricting throughout this next year. We have stated that several times throughout the year. And just so you know, we've shared it in board updates, we've shared it at elementary buildings, we've met in March, April, and June during faculty meetings to discuss staff across all buildings, how they can be supported through a culture initiative and transition from 4 to 3 elementary schools. The process we've been using is resulting in great feedback that we utilize internally to inform actions planning on how we ensure all staff feel welcome into the 3 buildings of Forsyth Central School District at the elementary. This is a collaborative approach for the new district configuration, which we announced in September 2025. We're now at a point where we will be creating Forsyth Central School District redistricting cultural teams internally. This is just as the name implies, a cross-functional team inside the district to help guide and make recommendations for various cultural elements that are an important part of this work for our staff. Our goal is to establish the teams that include representation from all 4 elementary buildings, grade levels, specialty areas, support staff, and support for our students. Included in this team will be student and family culture recommendations for the elementary schools, at which time we will then reach out and bring in our families. We will have a shared version with the families after July 2nd board meeting, where we will start some of that announcement work, which is coming up, and that's the purpose of tonight's statement. We'll emphasize that this timeline is always subject to change, and we will progress towards, but it is important for us that our staff, family, and community know where we've been, where we were, where we are now, and what is to come, and how we inform the next steps of our chapter. So that everyone knows, October 23rd through March 21st, we've had census surveys, and it's been open to the community to collect information. From April to May, our demographers have been culminating all their analysis and working with the census as well as the question and answers, which a frequently asked question and answer document will be developed. That way it's up on our website. Basically, we are finalizing that analysis and census, and in July, as the new board is seated, the Board of Education demographers will be here to present their recommendations to try to minimize the movement of students across the district as much as possible within a reasonable frame and protection of travel time to 3 buildings, Big Flat, Gardner Road, and Ridge Road. There will be a presentation also shared with families, as well as the digital frequently asked questions will be established from July all the way through September. The Board of Education will also have a public meeting question and answer session at its August board meeting. In September, ultimately, that is the time for the decision that needs to be made so that the bus routing can then take shape. There will be also a community forum held on behalf of the district in September, and then we will also, during this time, be talking about the critical start time of the high school. There are really 2 start times, and those 2 start times have to align with BOCES. That way, we are efficient with our staff and also efficient with our educational scheduling for our students. Ultimately, by September, we want those 2 critical decisions made so that once the busing situation is known with the boundaries, now the routes can be developed to try to minimize the time on our buses and also see what we can afford with those bus routes, whether or not we can shorten the length of ours. Ours are right now, some of them are at an hour and a half. We want to try to get that down. Our goal would be about an hour. But we need the boundaries to be able to see how many buses we would need, as well as from that discussion and development, that will set either the intermediate, middle school, or the elementary start times. Start times in the area are somewhere between 8:30, 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock is the average across the state. I don't know if we're going to be near there because we're at 8:15 now, but that's something that will be borne out by the actual implementation of new boundaries. And then ultimately, come October, we will start sectioning for next year and start looking at staff movement into the new positions and new configurations, as we've had an agreement with our instructional unit, and we are working on ways to make sure everybody is taken care of and trying to see where we can get everybody situated to the best of their abilities and skills. That's where we're at right now, and then it will change a little bit more after that as we go. But we wanted to give everybody a heads up, so please, we will be broadcasting and taping. You're more than welcome to come out, but we wanted everybody to know so they can also send in and look at the website and give us information. Our biggest thing is that we want people involved. We've been talking about this for the past year on and off. We've established the timeline. Here's the formal timeline, and now the work starts for the board. So I just wanted to put that out there for everyone so that they have ample notice. Our next meeting will be July 2nd, which is a reorganizational meeting, and then we will go into our regular meeting where the presentation will be somewhere around hopefully 6:15, 6:30 or so after the reorganization meeting occurs. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope to see you all at graduation, and I'm full of hot air and I don't need to add to this room. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my report as we come to the end of this year. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Douglas. We'll go to Anthony. Thank you for your service. We've already done the introduction of the student representatives, which is technically next on our agenda.
Almost off with you, Tony.
We'll move to item 5.03, district athletic extracurricular participation.
Little bow there, Anthony, little bow. Yes, and Marie Staley with us. So thank you. I'm just going to do a brief introduction. This is part of the work we've been doing is to report to the board about some of our work in our extracurriculars. Thank you. Sorry, I'm really loud on this side. And we last presented in January of 23 on these numbers, and so this is an update and an update on some of our curriculum work that also, and very more specific, we're at Ridge Road, and so Anne-Marie will talk about some of the programs she does here that we're looking to go district-wide on the 24-25 school year, as well as some of the universal things that are done throughout our elementaries in brief. So with that, I'm going to move over to Charles.
All right, good evening. First off, thank you for all your support this year. What we're going to talk about today is opportunities in our district for our students, and none of those things happen without, one, the Board of Education, but also district administration and all of our staff. So I head two departments, Phys Ed and Athletics, so I'll talk about both of those. We'll start about Phys Ed. All right. So Phys Ed specifically offers three different types of opportunities. Number one is intramurals. Last year we had one school participating in intramurals. This year, every single school offered intramurals. Morning gym is something that's offered at Gardner Road. That was altered a little bit because of the construction, but another great opportunity. And then our weight room, we offer it 4 days a week during all the athletic seasons, and then we also offer it in between seasons for any student athlete who wants to use it. At any one time, 300 students get these opportunities and are impacted positively through Phys Ed. Our Phys Ed staff, along with the hard work with intramurals, have been working very, very hard on their curriculum. They have met during the school days, they have met over the summer, and they do this with their grade level counterparts. And we've been updating the curriculum to match the new standards in New York State. And they've been working very hard for a couple years on this. Looking ahead, because of that, next year, K to 9 will implement that new curriculum, and grades 10 through 12 will continue to develop their curriculum. One thing that has changed with the curriculum is the focus. Phys Ed, as we all probably remember it, it's basketball unit, it's soccer unit. Well, we've changed our thinking to now make those units more about characteristics and skills that are needed beyond graduation. And they really mirror the portrait of a graduate. So for instance, a unit may be on teamwork, and they could be teaching basketball or volleyball or soccer or tennis, but the overall theme is teamwork. And through sports, they're going to teach these skills, which is obviously the biggest thing that athletics and phys ed offers is how to teach these things through their units. So it's been quite a change for our phys ed teachers, but all of them have been very positive, have worked very hard at it, and have really taken the ball and run with it. So thank you to them, and our curriculum department, led by Tiffany Owen, has done an incredible job, and we really, really appreciate them. Athletics, the last 3 years, I'm so excited about what we've done and where we are. Over the years, we've been adding teams at the modified level whenever we can, whenever participation dictates that. We've also taken advantage of adding some new sports, girls flag football and girls wrestling being primary. This year, we did add some modified sports, and we did add a JV level girls flag football because of the participation. So we have 70 teams currently in our program. Our trends, as you can see, this year we went up 9.2%, and that trend is great. That's what we want. You can see our numbers last year eclipsed pre-COVID numbers, and they continue to rise. We're at 1482 this year, and I don't know the numbers of surrounding districts, but we are up there. If not number one, we are up there. And just so you know, this is a seasonal trend as well. All of our seasons have seen increases, so this is not just happening in one area, it's happening all year long. So participation opportunities and trends have been positive. With that, that's phys ed and athletics. I'm going to pass it over now to someone much better in this weather, Anne Marie.
All right, thank you. Yes, I even changed out of my field day attire for tonight. So I want to just share with you a couple of activities that all of our pre-K through elementary schools have our students participate in. One of the first things is the elementary fun run. And I think this works. So all of our elementary schools offer some type of fun run. And it can be a little bit different and vary based on the school. We actually offer fun runs, mud runs, and run for charities. But even though that varies a little bit, the goal is the same. And that common goal truly is the students developing that sense of pride and that sense of self-achievement, that we are promoting a healthy lifestyle for students, that they actually find out that running can be fun and enjoyable. And then the most important for all of us in all of our schools is truly that building that school culture and community, having the students work together, having them team, having them share that success with each other. And just a couple things I'll share about, like Ridge Road's Fun Run. We do that every fall at the beginning of the year, and it's part of our Welcome Back to School weekend. My staff is huge in planning this, especially Mr. Romansky and Mrs. Murray. But the big thing about it is truly that alumni come back and cheer the kids on. Our 3rd and 4th grade students run first. If they run 3 times around the course, it's a 4K. And then they end up leading the younger students around the course, especially our kindergarten and pre-K. And also, like our high school YAC team, the other high school teams will come and cheer the students on. So it's a really fun, successful day. Every staff member is out there handing out medals, handing out the band. So it's just a really great activity for the students. The other thing, and I know Charles talked about it a little bit, but that is all 4 of our buildings offer 4th grade intramurals for the students. The 4th grade, or I should say pre-K through 4th grade, physical education teachers really have been working on this, and and with the mission statement saying that they really want to provide those opportunities for students. They want to enhance the learning, the well-being of the students, skill and attitude development. But the really big thing of their goal and their mission statement is that sportsmanship, fair play, positive attitude, and develop those habits for a physical and active life. The intramurals run pretty much from October through May. Again, they vary a little bit by building. Sometimes our phys ed teachers are coaches, so there may be one season where they're not offering them. But typically, what they offer are the flag football, soccer, basketball, floor hockey after school. The little picture you see there, that was our girls' floor hockey after practice. It goes from 2:30 to 3:30 after school, runs from October through, like I said, the end of May. And usually quite a few students sign up for it. I know I can talk to Ridge Road's numbers, but Mr. R usually has about 20 to 25 students for each session. He runs a girls session and a boys session. I will say our holiday games and our survivor games are extremely popular. And the best way I can describe those, if you think about the project-based learning, they have to work cooperatively, they have to work as a team. So it's great learning for them. They think they're having a lot of fun, but they're also learning. And then the last thing I wanted to just highlight is something that is a tradition at Ridge Road, and that is our 4th grade play. It's a rite of passage to participate in the 4th grade play before you graduate from Ridge Road. But the one thing I wanted to point out about it is it really does help the students practice their skill development. We talked about portrait of a graduate earlier, and also meets the, towards the theater arts standards. The students audition for the play in November. They practice after school 2 nights a week from November through March, and then beginning of March they do the production. They'll have 2 evening performances and then a day performance. One of the big things, and going back to thinking about career and college ready, is when they ask businesses and they ask colleges what you're looking for truly is skills. They talked about the 4 C's. And research has shown that students participating in theater co-productions truly are working towards that critical thinking, the collaboration skills they have to do, the communication, just speaking in front of an audience, to understanding body language and expression, and then of course that creativity. So all of that together, really helps the students gain those skills, and they have a lot of fun. And just to highlight, we did our senior walk the other day, and I watched the kiddos' faces as we put up pictures from their 4th grade play. So it was really neat to see that they do remember what they did. Thank you.
So that last piece, that 4th grade play, is certainly something we want to see expand into our other elementary buildings, especially as we build these fantastic spaces with the new stages and theatrical. And so that's something we're gearing up to see what that looks like moving forward. But that concludes what we're doing tonight, and we'll take any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation. And as my neighbor's child says, this end is the funnest part of the day. Hi. Moving along to finance items for action. First, we'll have a report from the audit committee. Ms. Dale?
Okay, so we met last week, and we had actually probably the longest agenda we've had all year. We started with a review of our internal audit risk assessments by our internal auditor, and just the one thing, there was a couple small findings that are all covered as part of the corrective action plan. But the one thing that Julie Kephart said is that this is the best audit she has seen and has done in a really long time. And I know I've been on the audit committee since I've been a board member, and I have to echo that as well. And there's a lot of effort that's been put in by a lot of staff members to enable our overall compliance. So that was really good news. The one area that really, we continue to have findings, but we also continue to have improvement on is on the extra classroom accounts. And the thing to note is those accounts are being managed by students and faculty advisors, of which continuously change, right? So there's always a learning curve that those advisors and those students, because they change almost every year, that they have to go through. And, Sarah Stanton has done a wonderful job in providing the training, putting systems in place, and those findings have continued to go down. So we did get an update from Sarah on her process, and she also made a point that this is the first year without a sales tax finding, and that our P&L forms have continued to improve. So we're definitely seeing progress in the right direction. So great job. The other thing that the audit committee reviewed, while Julie was in the school, she also did an internal audit, a detailed audit on Medicaid reporting. And that was a recommendation that the audit committee had given her after our last meeting. And it was really just to take a look at the detailed Medicaid billing to see if there's any opportunities for additional billing. And do we have students in the school that may be eligible to be able to bill for Medicaid that we're not currently billing? So that's what she did, and that really, it helps the district look for additional funding to come in, and it was a really great opportunity. We already have a really great process that Kelly Squires leads, but we did find that there's a potential of 100 students that we can do a little bit more detail looking at to see if there are opportunities. So Kelly is working through that corrective action plan and looking for ways that we can potentially do additional Medicaid billing. We also heard from Melissa Dewar from our external auditor firm, really just going through the overall external audit process. And then we took a look at the RFP results for our external auditor for the upcoming years. And there is a resolution on here tonight to be able to approve for that external auditor. So that was our audit committee. Anything to add, Aaron? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. All right, so now I need a motion for 6.03 through 6.30. Curiosities, discussion, comments?
Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Due to closest expenditures, I'm going to abstain on 6.10 and 6.12.
Thank you.
Yes, I had some questions. Is the audit committee going to be meeting again for the organizational meeting to provide recommendations for our attorney that might be appointed for the upcoming school year? Okay. Okay, so we're just going to have the same appointment as was last year for the lawyer.
I can hear myself. We would go through the regular process the board has always followed. If we have an RFP, we put the RFP, we do the extension, but there is no recommendation coming from the administration that would say we would change our legal advisors at this time.
Okay. So in reference to the minutes of the meeting for the corrective action plans, where will they be posted for us to be able to review them when they are finished?
They're actually in this document.
In the minutes? Oh, as it goes down through, yes, no, I did review those, yes. Okay, I think I had done that in order as I was going down through. Okay, on the treasurer's report, I am noticing that we have a 3-month treasury bill in the amount of $2,873,944.20. Is this money going to go back into the general fund, or are we going to assign it to a reserve account?
The interest on it is going to be reassigned, or go back into the account, whether or not we have surplus. Katie? Katie, you gotta get over here. Which is first?
Good, thank you. The money we're referring to came from the debt service fund. Any interest earnings will go back to the fund. Correct.
Can you hear? Okay. So the money from that line, was that in the budget for this year as far as the debt service line goes, or is that going to be added back into the debt service line?
So the debt service fund has its own balance. There's money within the debt service fund. I don't know. Okay. There's money within the debt service fund that we can invest. So that is separate from what we appropriate within the budget to offset the tax levy. So this is a way to grow that account by generating interest earnings. So it's nothing that's going to be added to the budget or anything like that. It's just increasing the balance in that fund.
Okay, so what I mean is, when we were looking at the debt service line, the 5 million, was this money that we're looking at now, because the interest is there, is that money included in that whole?
So two different things. What you're referring to is our principal and interest payments on our debt that's in our general fund. So that's what we're obligated to pay on any of our borrowings. The money that we're investing is the money in our savings account that we hold on account, we use for future use within the budget, future use to reduce the levy. So that's, well, it's called debt service fund. It's separate from our debt service payment. It's a savings account to support the payments. So the money, the payments in the budget are not changing.
Yeah, okay, I heard you say you're confusing the two different accounts. No, I'm just wondering, because the debt service savings, when you look at the report, that's at like 2 million, but then we have down here for the treasury bills, we've got the 2 million one, but then there was another 1 month one for the 5 million. So those balances will be added back into these balances up here eventually. Is that correct?
So yes, the balance of the account is separate from the amount that you're seeing for the T-bill. So once they mature, the money and the earnings will all go back to the account where it originated from.
Okay, thank you. And then, I don't know if I had missed this one or not, but is the 1 month treasury bill, was that also from the debt service? Was that an investment from that fund, or was that an investment from a different fund?
So the 5.5 million was from reserves. We invested 3 million at the capital reserve, 2 million from the ERS reserve, and 500,000 from the LR. So that it will go back into the reserve accounts along with the interest that's earned on those investments.
Okay, but so when we were calculating the overall budget, was this money that we're seeing now on this in the previous one, or will this be added, and so the lines will be more upcoming because we have more, do you understand my question? So, yeah, so I'm wondering if we saw this before, or is this like, hey, now we have more?
So this will be revenue for the year, and we do projections all year long, so we did anticipate these funds.
Okay, I was just, hoping we were getting more money. That's all. And then, what is the difference between our checking accounts and our saving accounts? Are the savings accounts considered the reserves? Is that money that is already going to be spent, or is this the money considered to be unassigned?
It's really no different than what you do with your own personal savings checking. It's for where you make payments out of. Savings is where you hold the money until you need it later. Money sits in savings, so we tend to get better interest rates. Some money of that is reserved, others is a general fund savings. What we so yeah, thank you. So we hold the savings until we need it out of checking.
Okay, great, thank you very much. Claims audit report, I'm still noticing the trend of the purchase order approval process that should be completed prior to the requesting of the goods and services. Where would an employee find the instructions on the school district's procedures for purchasing? Are we having verbal conversations with people or written conversations with people on the corrective action measures to ensure that we are not going over our general fund budget with these purchases?
Okay, so a few things there. Our purchasing policies are, there's several of them around the 6700 series. There's multiple policies related to purchasing. Just because something shows up as a confirming PL on the claims audit report, that doesn't mean that something was overspent or over budget. There was basically a flip in the process that something was ordered before running the proper approval channel from supervisors and purchasing agents as the final authorization. So yes, we continue to see confirming purchase orders. I will say there's always an element of human error, but looking at this report, there's 3 findings, 3 confirming purchase orders out of 329 checks, which is pretty good. And if you look back, historically, I think some other members that have been on the board for quite some time, the list used to be much more extensive when we had our business office at HCSD BOE, bringing it back to the type of business that's really founding our own control. So this recent audit report is very minimal compared to what it used to be.
Katie, I'm glad you pointed that out because that's exemplary of your entire department. When we were at HCSD BOE, we were averaging 7 to 9% problems with claims audits. And most of those percentages were not from in-house errors. They were actually from BOE errors. When we brought it back, I believe we started somewhere around 3, 3.5. And now we're regularly running somewhere around 1, 1.5. And for a district this size, that's exemplary. So thank you.
And as far as the follow-up with things like this, you show on claims audit, Sarah Stanton, our purchasing agent, we do, communication with the issues and work through them. But again, you're so minimal. Now people really have to get grasp on what the purchasing is.
Okay, thank you. I guess I was just looking more for I know that we have our policies in place, but I wasn't sure if you guys have an email that goes out to everybody who does the purchases that says, hey, I was looking for a little more insight on that, but that was all very good. Thank you very much. On the middle school extracurricular report, I'm noticing about the sales tax with 6 cents. What gets charged sales tax? And is it their responsibility as the extracurricular to file their sales tax, or do we do that for them as a district? And that's the same question for the high school sales tax. And then do they have to get their own separate tax ID, or do they use the school's tax ID?
Okay, so a lot of, I think, procedural questions here. So the clubs themselves are separate from the school district. So they have their own tax ID. They file their own New York State tax filing, sales tax filing with New York State independently of the district. That is the responsibility of the club to do so. The central treasurer takes care of that. So expenditures that generate sales tax, it could be certain kinds of red tickets, it could be t-shirt sales, things like that that the normal consumer will go out and pay sales tax, the public offers that sales tax on those same items. So the 6 cents, there's always little elements of rounding when the sales tax is calculated, so that 6 cents is nominal. Like we do the rounding, so when I'm going to be done at the end of the year, we get rid of it. And that's the same with
Okay, because in my mind I was thinking, well, do they get tax exemptions, like do we have, like if they were nonprofit and school, I think I was thinking along those lines of it, but
yeah, that's good. Yeah, so clubs are for profit, so they have to pay sales tax. They don't operate under the school tax exemption.
okay, thank you very much. On the budget transfer report, so I have some similar questions. I was noticing the music teacher transfer was $3,052.18. Was that, what was that money initially going towards? Do you know? Are all of these transfers because of the positions that we eliminated when we did the budget, and now we're reallocating those funds out to their new, what they're going to be funding?
So just as a whole conceptual idea of why budget transfers occur, keep in mind that the budget is set and developed in the spring before the budget season starts to start. So it's all done based on what we anticipate happening as far as which employees are going to hold which positions, resignations are unanticipated, new hires, salaries new hires are unanticipated, supplies to be more or less contracts. Things can fluctuate over what our best guesses are. So what the budget transfers do is take money from codes that, for whatever the reason may be, like the items that was mentioned, have some surplus funds in it, and we can, by budget transfer, move that money to a code that needs some extra funds. It's not that the budget's being overspent, it's just a reallocation of accounting entry to move money from a code who doesn't need X amount of dollars to another code that needs that X amount of dollars.
Right, and in this instance, it was like the same question I had for the monitors. I think it was like $9,448.52. So those were, each time you go down the budget transfer and you're seeing that you're taking the money from there, that's essentially because we eliminated that position within the budget.
No positions were eliminated. In the case of the monitors, the school lunch monitors, we made the decision, talked about with the board several times to pay them out of school lunch. So that created surplus funds within those specific codes. Other reasoning for salaries is resignations, the amounts they have changed, things of that nature. No positions were eliminated within this budget.
Could you tell me what the middle school health and wellness position was?
All health and wellness codes for all buildings are the nursing services.
Okay, and then, I had some concerns about the foundation aid, which maybe I should leave for that one for board comments. In regards, let's see. In regards to the Coles tax, it appears that we are giving them a refund. Is that correct? No, okay. So, or 6,000, it was like 6,000, 3,000, 3,000 on that one.
Katie, just hold up until she has her question. Hold up until she can clarify her question. I couldn't. Right.
There it is. Okay, so there is no refund being given to them. It's just going to be adjusted moving forward. Okay. I did have some questions about the internal audit report. It was showing that we have a level 5 risk in the facility maintenance and construction assets and inventory, accounting and reporting, and in student service data. It also shows a level 5 in payroll and personnel, and a level 4 in governance, and a level 6 in purchasing expenditures. As far as the yellow goes, is this because of a residual risk from previous years? When I was looking over the report, it was yellow, but it said on the report that this could be caused because of residual years, or was this something because of now?
So the internal audit report does kind of classify where the level of risk could be within certain areas. She does do a broad review when she comes in to do her audit. If you look back to prior internal audits that are on the website and on the website, you'll look back to see your findings of this time before. Some have been in the area of payroll, facility admin, business office reports. So we'll look back and we review things to make sure that we correct the things that we said we were going to do. So the audit this year was very positive with her review. Just the one noting from the transportation department and the annual ethics class, Christine noted one of the exercise audits we had. So overall, it's a successful internal audit.
Katie, you're kind of being too kind. Not kind enough, I'm sorry. Too kind. Not kind enough. Our audits have been exceptional since roughly 2016-17. Through your leadership, the business office coming back from BOCES, everything that we do in here, our audits are impeccable. So congratulations.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering if yellow, because it's fine, it's my first time looking at this report, if yellow was, so yellow's not that bad. Right, okay. Okay. So I noticed that some of the other board members were motioning to each other. I'm thinking that you guys don't want me to continue to ask my questions while I'm going down there.
Trying to get your attention up here and say, go like this.
I'm sorry. No, that's okay.
It should be in the deal.
I tried. Thank you.
comments or questions?
Sorry, just one more. So, at the special meeting that was talking about, the necessity for having the contracts and that they had to all be done by the summer, but there was several contracts in there that they have a full year's time to complete their project. Is that a problem, or do we want them to have it completed by the end of the summer?
No, that is so that they can do everything and also close out. So you have to allow a certain amount of time after, even though the project is primarily targeted for the next 10 weeks, isn't it, Mike? I mean, we have to be up and running come September, but if there's any problems, we have it open to continue.
Okay, thank you. That was my main concern with those projects, the making, because we had talked about the timelines and then, okay, thank you.
Others? All right, call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? So we had 6 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention. Is that accurate? Oh, you raised your hand, so I wasn't. Okay. So we have 7 yes and 1 abstention. We have personnel items for action. We have 7.02 through 7.04. Can I have a motion, please? Inquiries, discussion, comments? Dale?
I will be abstaining from the HR recommendations on section B because I have a family member in that list.
All question, all in favor?
I have to do my abstentions. I will be abstaining on the first, not abstaining, I will be voting no on 7.02. I believe it was line T for the renewal of the superintendent's contract because I have, as a new board member, I have never actually been given the contract in full to review. So I am voting no on that. I am also voting no on 7.04, the resolution for vote on the civil service hearing.
Others? All right, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, moving on to miscellaneous items for action, 8.02 and 8.03. Can I have a motion? Curiosities, discussion, comments?
I need to abstain from 3.08 for a personal conflict.
All right, call the question, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we have section 9. We'll start with the policy committee report. Your last report, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, thank you, President Conklin. Yes, we met on June 6th, and we discussed policies 1500E and 5130 on use of school facilities and compulsory attendance ages. These were necessitated by some changes we made in the budget, and so we are actually presenting them to the board tonight on a first and second reading to be approved tonight, so that they will be in place on July 1st, the date of the new budget. And on the second reading, there were no changes discussed at the committee meeting. President Conklin, you actually did approach me with a couple word changes that we actually did not discuss at the committee, so we can discuss as a committee a whole if you choose. And again, we are continuing to table the student wellness policy until the next year. This is our last meeting of the year, and I don't believe there's any good in the order, and that's my report.
Okay, so now we move on to the 9.03 through 9.23. Can I have a motion? Curiosities, discussion, comment. So I emailed a question and so it's on the norms document, and I was just questioning under the communication norms under 2B. I guess I need an interpretation of what 2B means, because as I read 2B, it says board members should not communicate directly with the executive team, principals, or any staff members through email, phone calls, text messages, etc. So I don't know if that means like as a board member, or we have certain board members that are parts of PTOs, and would that exclude them from discussion with building principals about school activities? I mean, it seems, yeah, I just want clarification, because I've been asking, is it an absolute prohibition?
As a member of the ad hoc committee and the policy committee, I can try to answer the question. For 2B, so B comes under the overarching statement in 2. So I think you have to read them together. So 2 says, direct any questions, comments, or concerns from staff to the superintendent. Meaning, if as a board member, staff members come to you with a concern, you're supposed to pass it to the superintendent. And then A and B go into more detail about that type of scenario. So B is saying you should not, if a staff member comes with a concern, you should pass it to the superintendent and then not have some sort of ongoing communication about that concern with any of those folks that are listed. But it's not intended to say, you know, there's an absolute prohibition about on any communication. It's communications in the context of concerns that have been brought to you. That's how I would explain to be.
Okay, I just got clarification, so I would understand. Okay. All right, call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Moving on to section 10, items 10.02 through 10.03 with Mr. Johnson. Reference, so this is first and second reading, and we're going to approve it tonight. So I need a motion. Questions, comments, curiosities?
I just have a question, where it talks about the district will not charge, so under item number 2, second paragraph down, the district will not charge a facility rental fee to the following, right? But when we say other recognized nonprofit groups that primarily serve the district students, is there any sort of guidance around what does primarily mean? When we talk about nonprofit organizations, do they have to be organizations that are registered as a 501c3? discussion about those details?
My recollection was that we were looking to get away from a rigid 75% participation rule because, of course, things can fluctuate, kids coming in, kids coming out, and so we moved it to primarily instead. It's under discussion. Oh, yes, based on, well, yes and no. I'll just use Elmira. No offense to Elmira, but if the Elmira group comes in and it's 65% or 60%, then maybe. But if it's 50-50 or 45% more set students, I guess primarily would apply in that scenario, but yeah, there's obviously a little more wiggle room there.
As that decision-making authority, so does that come to, does it go to the building principal? Like who will make that ultimate decision?
A lot of times that would be made through our facilities, so that they would see it. If it's something that is a question of policy or questionable, it will run through the executive team, who will also seek counsel as well. Ultimately, final decision comes to me, but usually, very rarely does it occur.
So as a follow-up to that, it would be possible, if it were helpful, that the district could put a regulation in place under the policy that sort of goes into more detail about what it means to be nonprofit or primarily, and then some criteria for how what evidence needs to be provided. So I think there could be further clarification. It would just have to fit within that overarching standard that we set, which is nonprofit and primarily.
I think just to also add clarification around that discussion, I think the reason that we wanted to change it too is because we wanted to be able to give as much access as possible to the students with being able to bring people in, and provide things for them.
I think that Katie brings up a good point during our discussion. The hard part is the budget number now. So, basically, if we're creating a regulation to bring to the board or to operate by, we need to know, does the board wish to open it up as much as possible? Because we need that determination for us to make the regulation. Otherwise, we follow our policy and we will charge. That's the hard part. We can only go with what we're given.
What I meant with the regulation is the policy, assuming we approve it, you would have to charge any group that was not primarily, a majority. But you couldn't say, okay, if it's only 30%, we still won't charge. The point is above, there's some scope as to what's within primarily, and that's where I was saying, I think the district could put out a point of view.
I have two questions about the pool use. So it says pool party, but there's no hours. Is that to be filled in later?
We have to do that calculation to finalize how many hours that is. Mike have to go back and look at it.
And then my other question is, because we do open it, it's been $2 for first head students, $3 for outside. Is it now 3 across the board for all, or are we going to go up to 4 for outside? 3 across, okay.
One is, just so that you know, we have to replace the pool heater now, and a couple other things that just broke. So, sorry.
How does this affect events like NISMA or the marching band competitions?
Education events that we do are not charged. Those are school educational functions.
Okay.
Now, if somebody is charging, like NISTA comes in and say they were charging and making funds, we would ask them to follow the policy. But for the most part, they are not doing something except they're not for profit too.
Okay. So things like the marching band competition that does charge.
Yeah, that's a school function.
Okay.
I just had one question on the fee for the original stadium. It's $50 for each additional hour. That's just if you want like a 2-hour content, it's $150. Is that what I'm saying? Okay. All right, so call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? All right, so I have the President's report, and tonight is a sad night for many of us. Mr. Johnson is retiring. He's given 12 years of service to the district, and we certainly counted on his sage legal advice in many situations. As is our custom, the board donates books in his name to libraries, and we asked him what he might want, and obviously with his expertise in the law and in the field of education. So we have 3 books. One is Brown versus Board of Education. Every 11th grade school student knows that, hopefully for their regions. We have Law 101. And apparently Mr. Johnson kind of has fond not aspirations for the right word, but he really enjoys Ruth Bader Ginsburg and what she stood for legally, so there's a book on Ruth Bader Ginsburg also. And we'll put a sticker inside that says it's donated in your name. So we wish you the best in your future endeavors, and we thank you wholeheartedly for your service, and we will sincerely miss you. All right, board member comments.
Okay, so I have 3 comments. The first one, I just want to thank all of the elementary schools for a wonderful job with the senior walk on Tuesday. You know, and I had the privilege of being here, and those seniors did not do a good job staying in Ridge Road Rocks. Anne Marie tried to get them to yell at me, but they had a great time, and it was really neat watching them walk through the hallway and seeing how excited they were, and seeing all the little kids. All the little Ridge Roaders in our neighborhood were so excited, you know, they were telling me about it in the morning, they told me about it again that night. So it was special. It's special for the parents, it's special for the kids, and it's even, I think, probably even more special for all the teachers in all the elementary schools. So thank you for that. Second of all, I want to thank Doug. I've had the privilege of, he's been on the board, all the years that I've been here, and I've always looked up to Doug for, his experience, his legal expertise, his level-headedness, his even temperament, which I think is just helpful to all of us. And I know personally I'm really going to miss you, so thank you. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, after 21 years of having a Dale kid in the school, I'm done. It's kind of bittersweet that all three of my kids went through this district, and we moved here right before my oldest started in 2004. So I just want to thank everybody that my kids interacted with and even didn't interact with. The experiences that they had, the skills that they learned. All of them were exposed to so many opportunities. The leadership skills that they learned, the level of independence that they all have, the kindness and the compassion that they learned. So I just want to thank, every staff member in the district, no matter what role you play. I know you all had a positive impact on the pre-Dale boys going through this district. So you're not rid of me yet, but you are rid of them. So thank you all very much for that.
Just briefly, I want to build on what Christine said. I have a child that's a senior, and in addition to the senior walk, there have been several events that have been put together that have just really showed the camaraderie and the spirit and the unity of the senior class. The trip, the vehicle decorating, the senior day, and I think it says a lot in terms of the work that goes into trying to make that a special event. So thank you to everyone who's a part of that. And then I won't belabor the point, but I want to thank Doug. I've been on the board 9 years, and so when I first came on, you were a great source of advice, and I think all through the time you've been a constant source of clear wisdom and guidance, and frankly challenged us sometimes to think beyond maybe what we had been considering or what was in front of us, and that's always been to the betterment of the board and the district, and I'll certainly miss having you as part of the team, so thank you very much.
All right, Doug. So Doug and I have known each other for a very, very long time. Our children have gone through school together. We were colleagues together. He was my professor for my administrative license in Rockport. And a mentor here on the board, but more than that, Doug, you're a friend. And I'm going to miss you here, and I wish you the best in your journeys forward. Just a couple of things. I'm not going to belabor the point, but Doug, I really will miss you and your ability to take the sting out of things. I really appreciated that. Thank you. I have 3 things on the younger end, seniors. I want to congratulate our intermediate school 4K reader students. I know today was not what you had planned, but it's something to be proud of. Reading 4,000 pages in 1 year is amazing, and you should be proud of that. Also, to our younger kids, I know it was a hot one, but field day was awesome, and all those smiles were amazing to see. And the other thing I wanted to thank is our district and the swim lessons that are provided throughout the year. My little guy was terrified swimming in the deep end, and while we were at this meeting today, he jumped in the deep end at Thorn Street. Without his life jacket, he was so confident. So I'm just so grateful for that program, and encourage any family who needs swim lessons next year to take advantage.
Doug, I'm going to miss you at policy. I learned a few things about school law thanks to you. So you were kind of a professor. Always calm, always patient, always the true sense of the word gentleman. and I wish you the very best to whatever the future holds for you. Thank you so much.
Yes, so obviously, thank you, Ben. We all appreciate your service. Being a board member is a thankless job, and you did it for a lot of years. Enjoy your time off. It was fun with you on the policy committee too. And I also was listening to Amy speak tonight, and I did want to make a motion. I think that we should, with 45 kids potentially losing daycare and having to find a daycare, there's not many daycares out there, and I think it's a real struggle for parents to be able to find daycares. And I would be interested in trying to see what the actual cost would be if we did open up, as far as like the rents go, or what the complications would be if we did bus students to daycares. I think this is a good thing to think about and to know, because when we go to this redistricting and we go down to 3 schools, I could almost guarantee that there's going to be somebody whose daycare that they've been in forever that will be zoned Gardner Road, but they were originally a Ridge Road person. And so then you're going to be relocating those people. So I think that this would be something that would be good to try to investigate and to try to see what we can do to make sure that we help parents, because we know that childcare is a real struggle. That being said, I also believe that I would have to abstain on some of this because my parents do own a daycare. But I do think that it's something that is very valid. I know many, many years ago they did bus to daycare centers, but I think that this would be a good time to do it. It's summertime, request forms. I think, you know, to have a peek and see. You have the Traversa system to type it in just to see. I don't even know how many daycares there are in Horseheads. I mean, I know in Chemung County it went down to like 50. It used to be 150 pre-pandemic, there's 50, but that's for the whole county. So if there were, you know, only 10 daycare services, just to investigate a bit further to see what the burden would really be and if it would be worth the expense to help our families in the district, providing them with daycare for their kids. So that was a motion.
So my question legally is, if you're conflicted, can a conflicted person make a motion? I just want to be on the up and up here.
You know, Dan's gonna have to take all these questions in the future. You are not.
Well, right now, you're still a
You're not
resident.
calling me during a board meeting and asking me questions, so. I mean, theoretically, I think she can make the motion, she can't vote on the motion if she's conflicted legally, but I don't know of any rule that would matter for making the motion.
Okay. So you're making the motion that you're saying?
Yes, the motion to investigate to see what it would really look like so that we could see the numbers, see the impact, really just do a little more digging into it.
Is there a second? All right. There's no second. Motion fails, no second. I didn't want to speak out and stuff like that. All right, so now I need a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing individual personnel matters and/or complaints. Once the executive session is finished, the board will recess for board evaluation purposes, and no district business will be conducted. And once we're done with the board evaluation, we will adjourn for the evening, we'll adjourn the public session and then adjourn for the evening.
Okay, so I wanted to make some comments real quick, if that's okay, under board member comments. Delay it?
Oh, all right.
Can we hold that in advance
I
for?
withdraw my motion, I can reread
Well,
it.
let's table it and we'll get, yeah, I'm gonna get right back to it. I mean, you guys said you appreciated my advice, so I mean, this will put you to the test. Maybe you'll boo me or, you know, take me out on a petard or something, but, so I just wanted to give some advice on a few things I've observed this year. In my background, I've been on the board, as mentioned, for 12 years. I worked for BOCES for 21 years. I worked for the New York State School Boards Association for 8 years before that. I've been going to school board meetings for a long time, about 28 years, all over the state. A lot here, a lot at BOCES, but I've been board member at board meetings in the Royal Country, Long Island, Buffalo, downstate, pretty much everywhere. What I saw this year with our board, though, was difficult to watch. We didn't function as well during the year as I would have liked. So I'm going to offer some words of advice for new board members that are coming on, minority board members, and majority board members. For new board members, don't assume you know very much about how school districts operate. Even as a BOCES employee for 10 years, before I got on the board, I knew little to nothing about transportation, athletics, facilities and grounds, the list goes on and on. So just be humble as you take on this responsibility, because it's a large organization that serves thousands of kids with hundreds and hundreds of employees. There's a lot for you to learn. Next is, it's your responsibility to be informed about the items on the agenda. We're all busy, but we make time to be ready, and all of us should take that responsibility. Go with the flow until you know. Don't vote against agenda items just because you don't know every little thing about the issue. Next, presume that the last and current school boards had and have good intentions. Dozens of people have served on this board before you. By the way, Candy, I wrote all this down. I'll email it to Tom. You can take a break if you want. Give them the benefit of the doubt that they weren't up to anything nefarious, unless you have evidence to the contrary. Get informed. Again, if you have a question about something on the board agenda, ask the superintendent. She or he is the contact person for board questions and will be the best source of information. The superintendent will direct you immediately to where you can go get relevant information. Don't speak until you're informed. Refrain from speaking authoritatively on a subject when you know little about it. Just because you found something on the internet that seems to support your position doesn't mean it applies to the issue at hand. Ask the superintendent about it first. Okay, for minority board members, and I was one for, in 2021, I was pushing to fully reopen the schools for the COVID shutdown. So here are my advice for people in the minority. Tell the superintendent about your concerns or opposition to particular agenda items or issues. Give them a heads up so the superintendent can either assist you in getting further information or you giving them notice that the issue will be discussed at the meeting. Bring the board president into the two. Prepare for awkwardness. When you come out in opposition to something that the majority of the board supports, you're likely going to ruffle some feathers. But my next point would be calm and civil in your position. Separate the people from the issue. You shouldn't have a personal beef with your fellow board members. Just a different point of view. Avoid personal attacks at all costs. Be willing to listen to the other side. There may be a good reason why the majority is on one side of the issue. Leave open the possibility that you were wrong and misinformed. Next, don't use board meetings to grandstand. Make your points, ask for a motion to change direction, and then live with the results of the majority's decision. Lastly, for minority board members, don't use hyper-technical points or filibustering to obfuscate the issue. Stay on your main message and make your case without an inordinate amount of time or trying to score points that don't help the cause. All right, I have some footage from majority too. All right, first of all, give the minority board members a little grace to make their points. It's tempting to shut down the minority in the interest of meeting efficiency, but please resist that temptation. A little grace shows the public that the majority isn't afraid of someone technical position. Next, take the position that the minority can have the information that they need to make up their mind on an issue. Next, don't get emotional. Again, it's tempting to show your frustration with minority board members, but be patient, calm, and civil. It will pay big dividends down the road, and again, avoiding personal attacks at all costs. Next to last, be willing to cross the aisle. We shouldn't be enemies on the board. Befriend those in the opposition to understand the perspective better. It will also give you a chance to share your point of view. Lastly, don't pile on. If another board member has already made the point you wanted to make, either withdraw from commenting or just support the previous board member's statement. Lastly, this is an advice. I mentioned I would very much like to hand my youngest daughter her diploma next year, next June, but I will no longer be a board member, and I asked for, in exchange for 12 years of service, 12 seconds on the stage. So I was told to put it into a motion, and this is how it was phrased to me, so I'm going to give this motion as, I make a motion that any former board member who has served for 9 or more years on the board shall be permitted to hand their child their diploma at the high school graduation.
Would you be willing to rephrase that to be any board member of 9 or more years, child or grandchild?
I would be willing to make that amendment.
Curiosities, discussion, comments? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Abstention? That's one. Before I go back to my motion, are there any other last minute comments? All right, so to repeat and refresh in everybody's mind, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing individual personnel matters and/or complaints. Once finished with the executive session, the board will recess for board evaluation, and there will be no district business conducted during that time. And then once we're done with the board evaluation, the board will adjourn back to public session, and then we'll adjourn from public session for the evening. So, and I have a motion. Discussion, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Abstention? I thank all public for coming out tonight. Thank the public that is viewing live stream, and drive home safely. And I guess today and tomorrow, the word of the day is stay cool and hydrated. Good night. Thank you.